What's up, everybody? It's CMP with Craftmaster Productions and Studio1Tutorials.com. Don't forget to stop by Studio One Tutorials, pick up your premium membership. It is 50 cents a day. And don't forget to stop by CMPKits.com. Get yourself a copy of Ski Mask 12. Get yourself a copy of Drill Loops Volume 1 and 2. Get all of the MIDI drum packs and do it today. Last day for the summer 40 discount. Now today we're going to be looking at something inside of Studio One 5. I want to show you guys how I go about arranging inside Studio One 5. And you know, I've been working like this in Studio One for a while. You guys know that I take the the whole workflow aspect and getting technology out of your way when you're producing very seriously, because it's the little things that you can set up in a session which will make a big difference, right? So when you guys open up Studio One, um you might your Studio One might look like this, right? And a lot of people start out like this. And I think this is counterproductive, even though Studio One, one of the great things about it that it does so much better than like a DAW like Logic or something, is allowing you to drag and drop the stuff that you want. And you might say, oh, well, there's certain things and every song is different. And yeah, okay. So let me show you why I like to go ahead and start out like this. So, if you guys have seen my template videos, my cheat codes folder, the drums and the band bus. This is an automation track that typically doesn't show up. But what I want to focus on right now is this one right here, this little Tetris block up here. When you hover your mouse over it, it'll say open arranger track. For me, this is always open, and it's saved in my template. And what I typically have, and just like my templates, and just like everything else in my workflow, the this arrangement up here is not static, right? It pretty much changes with whatever the basic vibe that I'm working on, for a given group of months, or sometimes even a year, will be, right? So right now, my arrangement, my arrangement starter, right? Because basically what this does is this starts my arrangement, right? This isn't the whole written arrangement. These are all of the pieces, right? All of the different little 4-bar loops which are going to comprise the entire song. So typically the way that I like to see it laid out is, I know that I'm going to have an intro, I know that I'm going to have a hook, I know that I'm going to have that whole hook is going to be 2 patterns long. But the second part of that hook, I want it to be a little different than the first, right? Then I know for what I call V1, these are all pieces of the verse, right? So I have V1 and V2. I know that the first 4 bars of the first verse are going to be different from the second 4 bars of the first verse. Then I have this section called Go Crazy. And this just reminds me, in my mind, and this is where you can kind of, leave yourself a note to self, right? You can kind of, and the way that you change the names of these, you just right click on them and then double click here, and you can name them whatever you want. You can change the color of them, whatever works for your workflow, right? But I tell myself here, go crazy, because here I started out with my regular pattern. Let's open it up so you can see it, a little bit better, right? So like right here, I started with my regular pattern. This is pretty much the loop that I wrote, getting into it. Here I've done a couple simple drum mutes to kind of add some variation on V2. I've added some hi-hat mutes to add variation. And by the time I get here, by the time I've made one, two, three, four, five, by the time I've made five, subtly unique patterns, once I get to pattern 6, I gotta remind myself, yo, go crazy. Okay, go crazy, do something, do something here, really push it, make this pattern, head and shoulders, blown away different than the rest of it. And then I swing around to no drums. And depending on the types of tracks, I can do so many different arrangements from this setup. What I mean is, I can go ahead and copy these, slide them down. So if I was making a drill song, right, a drill arrangement might look like this. I might do this hook, double it up, and then I go and then I bring V1 over here, and then I bring Go Crazy in after that. Then I bring in the no drums, and then I come in with hook 1 and 2 right here. Maybe I delete the 808, and this would be like more like a UK drill style arrangement, right, where it kind of starts out slow, and then you'll build without the 808. Sorry about that, guys. And then by the time you're used to this pattern, when you come around to V2, now once you hit Go Crazy, you're here. Right, so your second verse is completely different from your first verse, which is it's a pretty valuable technique when you're arranging beats, right? A more traditional trap vibe, where you were working on having something that kind of resembled like a traditional rap song. Like, say you wanted to do like the 16 bar verse thing, you could just take this arrangement right here, right? And then go ahead, highlight them all and duplicate it. And then you look here, boom, you're at 251. You've got the 3 minute song. You add a couple hooks right here. Yum. And then, if you want to if you wanted to kind of change things up, you could then like say, okay, I'll take the no drum part over here and I'll put this guy over here. So now your second verse is different from your first, right? Say you wanted to keep that going, you could take this, and drag it over to do that little copy, and you could add drums in from this pattern, right? You get rid of this guy because you don't need him anymore. Just delete him. But you see when you operate like this, and you kind of and you kind of simplify it, and you say, okay, instead of worrying about like how am I gonna arrange a whole song, when you just break it down into what do we got here? one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Like you might, if I told you like, yo, every beat you make, you should have seven different patterns. You might look at me like I was crazy. Like, wow, how am I going to come up with seven different patterns? But the great thing about a linear DAW, especially one that has an arranger track like this, is you could take like the mystery out of it and look at it visually and prepare, almost like a list, and just get as visual as you need to be to kind of understand, like, hey, this is pretty simple. Like these two patterns are going to sound kind of similar. This one is going to be like all the way left. This one isn't going to have any drums. And then these two are going to be my verse. So that's gonna build into something else. This one also doesn't have drums. You come up with different color codes, different different type of styles of devices that will trigger your memory and blaze pathways to make it easier to come up with creative ideas on the fly. And that's the point, is just to start with this template and then keep on tweaking it, keep on customizing it, and you'll find out that the more that you do it, the easier it is to make a more complex arrangement without it sounding crowded, cluttered, or you sounding like a tryhard. You know what I mean? Like it'll still sound like what you intended to sound like. Everything won't sound like flume or something, right? So this is CMP with Craft Master Productions, Studio One Tutorials.com. You guys keep it simple, but don't be basic, and we will see you on the next one.